Let's focus specifically on something you did work on, food delivery, right? And the Lyft
Hmm.
and Doordash has kind of given me, the segue that I've been thinking about. Like, how do you think about rideshare versus delivery, food delivery specifically? Is there a business that you like more or less, or do you think has more opportunity in the future or less?
Personally, I think rideshare is the bigger opportunity. It's interesting considering Lyft's market cap and DoorDash's market cap, right? But I just think the number of rides, as you start moving away from car ownership for people, our
Yeah.
main competitor is car
I was,
ownership, right?
yeah.
And I think as you get further and further away, and as like younger generations, don't get driver's licenses when they turn 16, that TAM of ride sharing is
Yeah.
just so much bigger. I think there's only so much takeout you can eat, in a week. You have a finite amount,
Yeah.
whereas like the rides, you get rid of your car, and there's way more rides. And so I think the TAM of ride sharing is ultimately bigger.
Mm.
Back in like I think it was 2015, Mary Meeker had her industry report that
Hmm.
everyone waits with bated breath for, and she said that 80% of U.S. discretionary spend is on three things: it's on transportation, it's on food, and it's on lodging.
Mm.
Right. And Airbnb obviously had lodging, and we had transportation, and no one was playing in food. And then we're like, that's it. That's the other big market. Right. And so while
Hmm.
I think ride sharing is bigger, I think food delivery is very big as well.
Got it. So I'm curious about the kind of unit economics of each business, because I've sort of always felt pretty strongly that, I kind of joke, like you'll pay more for a ride for yourself than you will for your burrito, right? I mean, on a Saturday night, surge, New Year's Eve, you don't have a lot of I mean, you literally have no options to get home, right?
Yeah.
If you've been out
Yeah.
drinking, Friday night, New Year's Eve, you stay home, you want to order takeout, too expensive. I could cook food. I could go to the grocery store. I can go pick up the food myself. I mean, physically, you do have a lot of alternatives. They may not be as good, but, and I think for those reasons, like I've always been a bit skeptical of the margins that you can take. And I think Uber sort of showed this with rides during the pandemic, is that they started raising prices and, people didn't have alternatives and started paying more, right? They didn't get to the same number of rides that they were doing pre-COVID, but they got to the same level of revenue because riders were paying more. So I'm curious, how do you think about like the unit economics of rideshare versus food delivery?
Well, I think they're two completely different beasts,
Hmm.
right? I think on the rides business, it's a much more simple equation,
Hmm.
right? It's like how much can you charge, and how much does the driver make on that, and
Yeah.
then what's the unit economics? And as you said, the one advantage of ride sharing is that people are somewhat price inelastic. It's a more simple equation, right, from
Yeah.
a unit economics perspective. And you do have that price inelasticity. What's interesting about Eats from a unit economics perspective is that like there's a lot of things at play where you have different levers as the business, the marketplace, right?
Yeah.
So there's the like takeaway rate you take from the restaurants.
Yeah.
There's the distance that you're going, right? Because the drivers are ultimately paid by like how far the ride is, right?
Yep.
As part of the equation, and so as you get more density, you could potentially, close off the geofencing.
Yeah.
That's one of the interesting things when we first started working with large like QSRs, like fast food restaurants, was like the average basket size, the average person, orders like a $30 Uber Eats order,
Right.
right? Not a family. I mean, mine with three kids and
Yeah.
in-laws living with us, it's a lot higher. But in general, it's like
A
30
normal
bucks.
family.
But yeah, but like McDonald's, for example, is like a $10 or
Yeah.
$8. And so you're like, how do you make the unit economics work? Well, there are thousands of McDonald's. And so if you
Hmm.
can make it so the delivery is only at any given place because of all the McDonald's is less than a mile
Right.
away, then all of a sudden it's like shorter
Mm.
rides. That changes the unit economics, and you
Yeah.
can make that work, right?
So I think that's I've never heard it put in that way. I mean, obviously a lot of folks refer to food delivery. It's tough because it is a three-sided marketplace with drivers and customers and restaurants. And, I think for that reason, like I've always said that it's like kind of like playing a game of telephone, the customer orders through the Uber app, Uber relays that to McDonald's, a delivery driver then has to come pick it up. Like, okay, there's now four people that have been in the middle of this equation, lots of opportunities for things to go awry, right? And that's why, you get a burger and fries. Oh, they forgot the ketchup, damn it. My order is ruined, right? It's like
Yeah.
tiny little thing, but you could see how
Yeah.
that stuff can easily get lost. But what you said that I think is really interesting is the density part. When you have really high density, you get to start to take advantage of those three sides? Like, I feel like if it's like a normal delivery business, it's like, wow, three-sided is really tough. But once you get like McDonald's and a lot of these, QSRs are the, most popular orders, I think, right, on Uber Eats, right? So it seems like to really do well, you kind of have to either have really high basket values, for like a big family, or really high density might be the two kind of key takeaways that I'm hearing.
Well, the other two things that you could have, and again, there's more levers on food delivery, like you have batching, right? You essentially have Uber Pool, but for food, right? You could give people, we'll waive your fee if you order from this restaurant in the next 2 minutes, because that Uber's algorithms know that 5 other people in your area ordered from that restaurant, and the driver can pick them all up, right?
Or we'll charge you more to get delivered first, like how both Uber Eats and Doordash now do, right?
Exactly. Or, the other one is not using a car, right? Using an e-bike or a moped or a motorcycle or things like that.
The thing I don't love about batching, though, is that, like with Uber Pool, folks, still get 100% of their destination. It might just take longer. With food, the quality is literally deteriorating, right? With every minute. I'm imagining there's some important KPI between, when the food is picked up and when it is delivered. There's got to be some correlation between, I don't know, bad experience or something there, right? Like, do you think that batching, hurts that side of the batching or limits the potential?
It depends on the algorithms, how well your algorithm places people, and also the density of your product. As you get more scale, then you're much more likely for people to be close by, right? And so if you're only batching people a block away, then not an issue, or on your route. But if you're they're going miles out of their way, then your food is gonna get bad.
What do you think is the better gig for drivers, rideshare or delivery?
I think it depends on the person. That's the key, is there's different times of day, right? A lot of the drivers, before we had Uber Eats, that's one of the things I loved about Uber Eats when I came over to it, was, a lot of drivers, I would talk to drivers in Texas, and we had some amazing people that were just like, I just can't, like, I have to take care of my kids after dinner. Like, I can't be out at 9:00 on a Friday. But like, I'm dropping my kids off from school to school, and I have nothing to do midday. And we're like, that's not when people ride Uber, right? That like, some people do, but you're gonna make less money because there's fewer rides, and then you add all of a sudden you add Uber Eats, and the timing is different, right? People are ordering at non-peak times for the rides business, and so for different people, it's a different game. You don't have someone in your car. Some people don't like the smell of food in their car. Some people don't like people in their car, right? And so
that's what I thought you were going to say. I thought you were going to say some people don't like people, which is honestly like a good reason to do delivery. You don't have to talk to people.
You don't have to talk to people, right?